refusing to pay for my girlfriend's travel and accommodation to a wedding only she's invited to, and we're already in financial difficulty? We're all based in England. My girlfriend's cousin has been planning a wedding in Italy for next May, for the last couple of years, and has asked my girlfriend to be a bridesmaid. She made it quite clear from day one that she strictly wasn't allowing any partners or children to the wedding. This has sparked quite a lot of controversy in her family, with many of the family now boycotting the wedding because their partners, who I might add used to be very close friends with the bride, aren't invited. I took this quite personally for a while myself, before realizing it more than likely is just down to cost and numbers. But nevertheless, I have always said to my girlfriend that if she wants to go, then I'm happy for her to do so. If she doesn't, then I'll also respect whatever choice she makes. I'm not a huge wedding lover anyway, so our grand plan was to still travel to Italy and have a holiday out of it, myself and our little boy, who will be 1 year old, just exploring for the day she's at the wedding. At this point, financially we were in quite a good place to do so. However, this year we've hit quite significant financial difficulty. Our 7-month-old son is growing in and out of clothes at the blink of an eye. I left my job in the springtime to pursue starting my own business. I invested my savings into starting it up, and business has been going well and I've been surviving, but I'm not at too stable of a salary just yet. And then in the summertime, my girlfriend, whilst on maternity leave, found out she was being laid off due to budget cuts. She got a fairly small payout and has since used a chunk of it to pay off some debts and buy things for our baby, whilst my finances have been covering the household bills, car finance, fuel, etc., whilst I have a few small debts to pay off as well. We've had to also sell her car and share mine as we couldn't afford to run 2 cars anymore. She wants us to go on holiday next March for our son's first birthday, which I'd love to do, but I've had to say we might not be able to, so she's mad about that. Then there's also Italy to pay for in May, that I've told her I'm struggling majorly at the minute to forecast for. I've tried to raise my concerns with her over the last few months about the travel costs for the wedding, but she's not really been responding. Then we got into an argument a few days ago where I raised it and she still hasn't discussed it with me, because I honestly think she is expecting me to pay it. Had I have actually been invited to the wedding myself, then I feel like things would be different, and we could compromise on some sort of cost or saved very harshly for it, but I feel quite put out whilst already in financial difficulty, paying for her just to go to a wedding, as otherwise if it wasn't for this wedding, we more than likely wouldn't have been planning a trip to Italy in the first place. I have always wanted to go to Italy, but I'm struggling to enjoy the idea of going next year solely for a wedding when we can't afford it. Comment 1. NTA, your GF is being incredibly selfish. I would let her get on with the travel planning, but make it clear that you will not be contributing and that you will expect her to continue to cover whatever household costs she presently does. That you are more concerned about the security and stability of your family and are not interested in adding any additional debt to the relationship. Once she starts planning, just keep bringing up the question of how she is going to pay for it. Who will be looking after baby during her proposed time away? Comment 2. NTA. You can't get blood out of a stone, and if the money isn't there, it isn't there. The only concession I would consider at this point is your wife going on her own, so that you only need to cover one person's plan of fare and accommodation. Perhaps she might be able to stay in the same accommodation as someone else she knows that is going. Doesn't sound like you are going to be able to have an overseas holiday as a family. Unless your girlfriend finds another job now. Comment 3. NTA, if you can't afford it, then you can't afford it. Your financial situation has had some major changes since you first made plans to go to Italy. Your GF needs to remove her head from her undercarriage and recognize the new reality. Story 2. Not using the money I earn to buy family groceries. I, 16M, work part-time right now and have my own income. I'm also the oldest in my family. I have 4 younger siblings. 2 bio brothers who are on the spectrum and 2 sisters who are biologically my cousins and were adopted by my parents as babies. Both have Down syndrome. All 4 of my younger siblings have significant challenges and health issues. Over the years it has drained my parents' resources and left very little for anything fun. It was only when I started working 2 years ago that I could afford to treat myself occasionally. Sometimes it's my favorite gummies. Sometimes I save up to buy something. I bought myself a laptop earlier this year with my money because I needed something, especially with school and everything, and using the family computer didn't work as much now because Dad works later in the days than he used to. For the last few months I have paid for certain groceries for myself. Since there are so many different meals made in our house and I usually ended up with stuff I didn't really enjoy, I decided to occasionally buy in stuff so I could make myself something I'd like, and it was one less person for my mom to prepare food for. My brothers both have safe foods and my sisters are also bad eaters who have limitations due to allergies but also due to not enjoying the taste of a lot of things. I know my parents have been struggling to afford all the safe foods, allergen foods, and then stuff for themselves. A while ago my dad asked if I could buy some family groceries for everyone, and I sat and asked him if I could just get more of what I like for everyone, and he said no. He and my mom don't like the foods I do. My siblings couldn't and wouldn't eat them. He said just get the usual stuff and I can live off of stuff I don't love. I told him I didn't want to do that. That I was trying to enjoy food more and it was one less person for them to buy for. We compromised and I would buy myself groceries all the time instead of sometimes. Then a couple of weeks ago some foods ran out and my dad had to use his credit card to buy a few extra groceries. I was the only person who didn't run out that week. My parents were pissed. They asked why I took care of myself so much but wouldn't help out with my family. Mom said it's exhausting having to feed so many different people with different needs, and I could at least buy food for my siblings if I can't give a sh about her and Dad. They said I was selfish and I should be thinking of my family over just me. My parents said I would probably let everyone starve before I help out, and then they accused me of resenting them for adopting my sisters and adding more additional needs kids to our family. But they said that's what family does and I should be ashamed. They also said I should never have bought the laptop and could have helped out more financially without it. Comment 1. NTA Your parents bit off more than they can chew and need to reach out to the countless resources that are available to them. Best place to start is the caseworker. If I was you, I'd contact DCF myself and explain exactly what you said. Your family is struggling to make ends meet after adopting and pressuring you to provide. They won't be in trouble, they'll be provided resources and help for all of you. Comment 2. NTA But your parents are. They can take their bleeding heart BS and shove it. They have a legal obligation to provide for you until you are 18 and they are not even doing that. This is a form of neglect and would be illegal in most countries. It's their job to raise you to have success in life, not just as a resource for their pity project. They chose to take on these responsibilities, it's on them to deal with it. Yeah, it's hard, but they chose to do a hard thing, but they should have thought of that before they got started. No one forced them to have 3 kids, no one forced them to adopt 2 more. They should just admit their failure and go to social services rather than drag you down with them. Because right now they are being the selfish and irresponsible ones. Yeah, family helps, that's what they do, but parents provide, that's what they do. If they want more money, they can get a job that pays better or work more hours. If you start not, you will never get out of this. Even if you move out, they will still be asking for your help. Story 3, not including my half-siblings in sibling bracelets. My parents are divorced and I'm the middle child from their marriage. My brother is 17, I'm 16 and my sister is 15. Our dad remarried and has another 3 kids, our half-siblings, with his wife. My half-siblings are 9, 7 and 5. My sister and I still split time between mom and dad's houses. But my brother chose to stay with mom full-time last year and he doesn't keep in touch with dad. They always had a really rocky relationship, and my brother has said more than once he's done with dad. The reason I mention this is because the fallout has been on my sister and me and not on him because he has no contact with our dad. But anyway. So a few months ago my sister and I thought it would be cool to buy matching sister bracelets. The idea started with just the two of us, but then we talked our brother into accepting one too, though he's only worn it once. We keep them at Mom's because our half-siblings would be hurt to see them, mostly my 9-year-old half-sister, and I think my dad's wife would be bothered enough if the bracelets were in their house to give them to my half-sisters, the 9 and 5-year-olds. Our cousin got married a few weeks ago and my siblings and I wore the bracelets for the wedding, and we took some photos of us wearing them and I posted them to my social media. My brother was rolling his eyes the whole time, but he did it lol. Anyway, Dad was looking through the photos and included my half-sister in the looking through them, and they saw the bracelets and she got upset and wondered why she didn't have one too. The next time my sister and I were at Dad's, he brought the topic up to us and asked what the hell we were thinking doing sibling mementos and not including all our siblings. My half-sister asked if she could have one. I told her I was sorry, but no, because it was just for us older three. Then she got upset because she hasn't seen my brother in a year and the three of us are close like that but not with her. Dad told me we never should have bought the bracelets in the first place. He asked why it was just for 3 instead of for the 6 of us, and I said because the relationship with our half-siblings is different. He said that shouldn't be true and that it just goes to show we're callous and want to stomp on our younger siblings. He said the worst thing was getting the bracelets and knowing our half-siblings would want to be included but not including them. He asked how I could look at myself in the mirror. He said similar stuff to my sister. Comment 1. Although I understand your dad's point, NTA. Your relationship is going to be different from you half-siblings. Not only because you were raised together, in completely different environments and circumstances than they are, but the age gap at this point naturally makes it more difficult to have a close bond. I have teenagers and they're always doing their own things and would be annoyed at much younger kids, because they're teenagers. Comment 2. Well, he's lovely. Hard to see why your brother won't give him the time of day. You share an age group with your full siblings, so of course the relationship is different. Your father is ridiculous. You weren't selfish for doing a bonding activity with your full siblings. This wasn't done to exclude. You may want to explain it to the 9-year-old, but ignore your father's manipulative toxicity. NTA. Comment 3. NTA for getting the bracelet MS and taking pics for social media. Other than you going over to their house part of the time, what has your dad done to bring the 6 of you closer together? Other than berating you? You mentioned your stepmom would just have given your half-sisters the bracelets if they were in your dad's house. Does that happen often where your stuff gets taken? If your dad and stepmom buy something for your half-siblings, do you get the equivalent? Story 4. Wanting to get a photo of my mother with only her grandchildren at my daughter's birthday party. My youngest daughter recently turned 12 years old. It was a rare occasion where all of the grandchildren were together. My older sister was visiting from another state for the weekend with her college-aged daughter, and we came to an agreement with my late brother's ex-wife so that his children were with us for a few hours. That's all to say there are a lot of moving parts to getting this entire family together. There have also been several deaths in the family in the last year. I wanted to get a picture with my mother and the grandchildren while we have the opportunity, since it might never happen that we're all gathered at the same time like this again. However, when I went to get the photo and I called for all the grandkids to go sit with Grandma, the niece of my older brother's partner went to sit with my mother as well. I tried to be very gentle and told her, "Not you, sweetie, just the grandchildren. Poor thing doesn't have much going on in her little head," and she just stood there like a deer in headlights until I beckoned her to come stand near me instead before letting the children back outside to play. Next thing I know, my brother is asking me what happened because she's crying to him about it, and he was furious with me over this. Instead of trying to understand my reasoning, I gave him that I don't want some random child in what might be the last photo of Mum and the kids. They decided to leave. He childishly hasn't spoken to me in a week, and I'm not wrong to think he's the one overreacting and being unreasonable about this. Edit. The comment about the girl was my polite way trying to explain she has mentally special needs and nonverbal. From what I know, the mother, the sister of my brother's partner, was on a lot of drugs while pregnant and often left her alone on the floor with food in a dog bowl as a baby. Now the girl is like this, and this is why she's in the custody of my brother's partner. Another edit to say my mother is not the most lucid and she does not know who this little girl is. The most they do together is sit in silence when the other children are playing, since this little girl is very shy and often won't go out to play. Instead she glues herself to my mother who won't move away from her. They have tea parties in silence and the girl makes Play-Doh food for my mother who pretends to eat it. As far as I know, based on how the girl looks, I believe my mother thinks her to be the daughter of a woman who used to work for the family when my mother was young and they would be watched together. Comment 1. YTA. Your brother is raising her, so yes, she is a grandchild. And your comment was unnecessary and not more polite than saying she has special needs. Your comment was purposefully rude because you didn't want her in the photo with the other kids. Your brother needs to continue not speaking to you and keeping you away from this child. Comment 2. YTA, especially for the multiple, insulting ways you refer to a special needs child in this post. Having her in the picture wouldn't have ruined it in any way. You could have taken several shots rotating kids in and out to make it less apparent if it was really important to get a shot with only the grandkids. Comment 3. YTA for burying the Lede. Your brother and his partner have custody of this child. For all intents and purposes, they are her guardians and she is your mother's grandchild even if not biologically.